now. Still mechanical, but got out of the administrative alone, so we could do the actual work again.
Grandpa's there.
Good to see you.
Prepared breaks, and then went towards the bed.
Ramsey? Good. All right, but I need, we're pretty busy today.
Oh, we're still busy today. I just got out of there.
Cooked a lot of food today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took the easy way. I took aircraft loadmaster. I did all the weight balance for the bombs.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly. I always wanted to go to the passage or open up, but I always couldn't stick with that big team, that black team. My last one, I finally got it.
Call this regular city council meeting to order, 1800 hours, April 14th, 2022. First item on business is roll call. Everybody is here in the chambers tonight. Pledge of allegiance and invocation. Kip, would you lead us in the pledge, and we'll have Councilman Nielsen do the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful that we can be assembled here on behalf of the people of Holbrook. Please bless us that we can be receptive for thy spirit, and that we can have good judgment, and that we can serve the people best that have elected us to serve them. Please bless those that are mourning and those that are in need. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Item 4, consent agenda. Chair will move.
I move that we accept the consent agenda, the minutes as submitted.
Second event.
Do we have any comments or concerns on the minutes that were submitted? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, that passes. Okay, item 5, call to the public for non-item or non-agenda items.
There are 3.
Okay, the first one I got is Sherry V.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm here representing the Navajo County Historical Society and the museum in town. We are planning a reception on April 26th at 6 p.m. to do our annual board meeting, but it should be really, really short, but it's primarily focusing on the retirement of Jolynn Fox, who's put in many years and has brought the level of the museum up to an amazing standards. We've gotten nothing but positive reviews from foreigners, in-staters, out-of-staters. It's all been positive because it's so well done. So we'd like to see if you guys could come and join us. It shouldn't take that long, but you know, we just want to make a big deal about Jolynn's service. Just for information, the museum just since January has had 2,828 people that's come through our museum, 128 from the foreign countries, 2,066 out of state, 543 in-state, and 91 local. And we met 2 of them from Australia, and they spent 2 days in Holbrook. So we do draw the people in, and everybody, and a lot of them are museum hoppers, what I call them. But they just did nothing but praises, and we were there all week, you know, just working on different projects. And so I just, if you haven't been there for a while, you really ought to check it out, because Jolynn's done a fabulous job. And we're just trying to come up with some other ideas, what else we can bring, what part of history we're missing in the museum, so we can upgrade a little bit, so. So you have any questions for me?
So this meeting on the 26th at 6 p.m. is in the museum itself?
Yes, it's in the auditorium in the museum. There, if you go in the back of the building, there's a ramp going up to the auditorium door, and then the gates will be open so you can look around the museum if you'd like to do that. So, I thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Appreciate the city's help and helping us keep going. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, next one I got is Mark Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman, and council members. I'm here in reference to some information I've obtained in reference to the cemetery, the way things are going at the cemetery. Everybody knows on February 6th we lost Tim McPherson. One of Tim McPherson's last wishes to his wife before he passed away was that he be placed in a plot close to his brother and his father. Where he's buried today is the closest that they could get to him, get him into where he needed to be. That was one of his last requests. That being said, everything was fine after the burial and everything, but recently, in my opinion, the plot has been not only his plot. There's 4 or 5 others that have been, in my opinion, disrespected by the city of Holbrook. I understand sometimes there's going to be times when you can't get around those graves at certain points, but from some information I've obtained, is that, and I've seen it for myself, is that the backhoe is running directly halfway over the plots, almost entirely, almost the whole plot every time, almost on a daily basis. When a plot is being, a new plot is being taken out, since his is on the corner, I've been over there, I've taken measurements, I've looked at it, and if I was driving the backhoe, I could get around it without running over his grave. But recent things I've found out is they're backing a semi-truck back in there to load the dirt from the plots, is what I've gained from employees within the city of Holbrook. Maybe that's why the reason that it's being run over, I don't know. Everybody knows when you go to a cemetery, the one thing you do is when you go visit, is you try not to walk on people's plots. Out of respect for the person who's buried there. And in my opinion, it's just disrespectful to run them over. We gotta try and do something. I think we need to move that fence back. If we're having that many problems, we need to move the fence back. Well, that means we're getting loaded and the cemetery is almost out. We're gonna have to move the fence back sooner or later. And if these are the problems we're having after people have buried their loved ones, then I think it's time to move the fence back to where we won't have this problem anymore. It's to the point where his wife is at the point where she wants to have them exhumed and cremated because of what's happening with this, and I don't think we're better than this in the city of Holbrook, and I think we need to do better because it's not right. It's a place of rest and not a place of running over people's graves because you say you can't get around it. I just don't agree with it either, and it takes me off too, and it makes me not want to be buried in the city of Holbrook's cemetery if that's going to happen. But I think it's time that we need to put this on the agenda and have that fence moved back. If this is the problems we're having, and they sold those plots, and they knew this was gonna happen, then I think it's time for us to move the fence back. I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Elizabeth McPherson.
Hello. Some of you know me and some of you don't. My name is Elizabeth McPherson. I'm Tim McPherson's daughter. I'm not someone who just complains just for the sake of complaining. I am not naive enough to think that cemetery plots are not going to get run over sometimes. I understand that that happens, and I understand that it's unavoidable in some situations, but it is not unavoidable in this situation. And you're not gonna be able to scream at me and hang up on me and tell me that the conversation is over after I had an assurance from you that you would take care of the issues and that I could reach out to you if the issues weren't taken care of. And I did not threaten you. What I said was, I'm not the only person in this town who has somebody buried in this cemetery that they care about. And I'm trying to come to you to fix the issue, but if the issue isn't fixed, then I'm gonna have no choice but to tell more people, because I'm not the only one who will care about this. And that if it comes to that, then he's gonna have more people to answer to than just me about the problem. And I was greeted with screaming, cutting me off, saying, you know what, thanks for the threat, but this conversation's over. And I said I wasn't threatening you. I was just informing you that I'm not the only person in this town that cares. But he hung up on me anyway, so I'm here talking to you guys instead. There's absolutely no reason the fence can't be moved back 20 feet. No reason. That is city property. If it's a budget issue, I told him at our first meeting at the cemetery that if it's a budget issue, I have no issues raising the money myself to get the fence moved. If it's a manpower issue, I have no issues. I will go move the fence myself, and I would have no problem finding enough volunteers in this town to help me do it. The plots that are there at the very end that are new are being used as a roadway because there's no other option. Because the fence is too close and it's disrespectful. If it was once in a while, I would understand, but it's a daily basis and it's not right. And something needs to be done about it. My mom should not be having these feelings that she wants to exhume. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, item 6, call to the public for agenda items.
There are none.
We have none. New business, discussion and possible action, 7A, APS, wildfire mitigation report. Janet or Neil, which one? Or both?
We're gonna tag team this thing here. So Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, it's great to be here tonight. We really appreciate you letting us come and spend some time sharing some message with you tonight. Just so you're aware, for your records, my name is Neil Traver. I'm the Division Manager for Northeastern Arizona for APS, and tonight we've got a message about fire mitigation. And I'm gonna actually turn the time over to my all-star counterpart here, who's gonna be able to actually share the message of fire mitigation and what we're doing to help prevent fires in the state of Arizona. Janet?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Janet Dean, Public Affairs Manager for APS for the Northeast Division, which includes Holbrook in the area. I really appreciate you giving us some time on the agenda tonight. It's the time of year where all of us start having increased concerns about fire in our beautiful state, and APS is right there with all of our communities. It's something we think about daily, it's something we worry about, and it's something we prepare for all year long. And right now we're going around to all of the councils in northeastern part of the state and talking to them about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it might have an impact on some of our customers. So as I said, it's fire season. We know it's increased drought conditions. We know it's coming this year. APS is at the table preparing with fire departments, the Forest Service, county emergency management. What we do is year-round, and we have a very integrated fire mitigation, fire preparedness plan that we work to try to keep our communities safe. And it's something we've been doing for many years. It's something that predates the tragedies that I think we're all aware of that have happened in California. that we just saw happen in Ruidoso, New Mexico this week, where a wildfire takes off. And we know that with the miles and miles and miles of line that we have through the forest as part of our state in the wildland urban interface, that there's an inherent risk from electrical infrastructure. It's just the way it is. So that's why we work year round to do what we can to mitigate it. So just real quickly, our wildfire plan has many components and many goals. And really there's 4 key things I wanted to point out. We have our integrated vegetation management program, and what that means is we are maintaining our right-of-ways, we are clearing our right-of-ways, and we're doing that on an annual basis. We're patrolling our lines and making sure that we are keeping them clear. We're looking for hazard trees that might be just outside of our right-of-ways and for whatever reason may not be healthy. Maybe it's bark beetles, maybe it's wind, maybe whatever it might be. We're looking to identify those and remove them to mitigate the risk of them falling into our lines. We do this for a couple of reasons. The safety I talked about, but also because those right-of-ways are a key tool for our firefighters as they're out fighting forest fires. They're often used as a place to start a defense or to try to make a stand, and they work right under our lines. And so we want to keep them clear, and we want to give them that tool. We also have what we call defensible space around poles, and that's a program in the wildland urban interface where we are clearing 10 feet around our poles that have equipment on it that perhaps has the possibility of a spark, but we want to clear 10-foot radius around those poles so that it is safe if something happens. We also do annual line inspections of our lines that go through the forested areas, and that is up to about 5,000 miles of line this year that we have inspected. We have identified any maintenance issues that we might have found, and we're going to have all those fixed here very quickly. We have a goal to have those fixed by the end of April, I believe. So that's another piece of our plan. And then finally, we have some protocols we put into place. I think we all know we don't want our power out, and utilities through the years have worked to do whatever they can to shorten the duration of any potential impact to customers from an outage. And we do that by putting equipment on our lines that senses when there's a fault and automatically tries to re-energize the line. During heightened fire times, we turn that equipment off. We don't want our lines trying to automatically re-energize themselves because we don't know what caused that outage. Maybe it's a tree in the line, maybe it's a line on the ground. We want to get our team out into the field to make sure we know what caused that power outage and make sure that it's safe to re-energize the line. Some cases we're not going to find anything. It might have been something intermittent, a balloon brushing, a tree branch brushing. It might have been a lightning strike and it would have been a momentary outage. But during this time and with these protocols, what our customers might experience are longer outages because we're not going to re-energize till we know it's safe. So we want to make sure our customers know about that. We have added more line this year to the lines to where we do this kind of fire mitigation work. It's not just in northern Arizona, it's into southern Arizona where we see wildfires starting this time of the year. We've added more and more equipment on our lines to help us identify if there is an outage, where that outage might have occurred, so we can get our crews there faster to the area that's impacted so we can get the power back on more quickly. And we also are adding some new equipment to our lines. We have some poles, we've got some wire mesh, some meshing that's fire guard that we're starting to install around some poles. Last year we had the backbone fire that took out the line from the Childs Irving line that up in the Pine Strawberry area, and we had to rebuild that line following that fire, and all those poles have that new fire mesh around it. We also just rebuilt a line from Payson to Pine, and we went back in and put all of that fire mesh around it. So we're trying to add that hardening to our system when we can. So with that, we're doing lots of customer communication. That's why we're here tonight. Holbrook isn't as directly impacted as other communities, but we want everyone aware. We don't want just the customers living right in the highly forested areas knowing what we're doing. because this is part of our commitment to safety and to our communities. So with that, that's what we have for you tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or Neil can answer them. But we just really appreciate the time letting us come share what we are so focused on this time of year. So thank you.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 7B, notice of recall election. Lisa?
The notice is hereby given that the city of Holbrook will hold a recall election in conjunction with the primary election as follows. Election date, Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022. Offices to be recalled, mayor. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. at the Machusac Recreation Center across the street, 404 First Avenue. This election will be held in conjunction with the state and county elections. And if you're gonna pick up a nomination packet, they'll be available starting now. And they'll have to be turned in no earlier than May the 4th and no later than June the 3rd. And there'll be 10 signatures needed.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, moving on to item C, proclamation, Fair Housing Month. Proclamation, Fair Housing Month, whereas the National Fair Housing Law of 1986 as amended by the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits the fair housing in the United States, and whereas the principle of fair housing is not only a national law, it is a national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. Whereas April has traditionally been designated as Fair Housing Month in the United States. Therefore, I, J. Merrill Young, proclaim April as Fair Housing Month in the city of Holbrook and urge all residents to comply with the letter and the spirit of the Fair Housing Law. I don't believe proclamation doesn't need a vote, does it? It's just a... Okay. Moving on to item 8, summary of current events. I have nothing. Councilman Dixon?
I don't have anything, Mayor, thank you.
Vice Mayor Payne?
I shouldn't talk about this because I'm not sure of the date, but don't we have a cleanup coming up?
23rd.
23rd, okay, yeah. So we have a citywide cleanup. Is everybody meeting at the courthouse as usual? Okay, I would invite anybody who has a little extra energy and maybe a pair of gloves to come down and help pick up the trash. We've had so much wind. I'm sure there's quite a bit that's here, and quite a bit has already moved on to Gallup. So hopefully that will cut down on the workload. But there's more wind on the way, so we'll be happy to see any and all who can come out and help. Does it start at 8 like usual?
I believe so. It starts at 8, right?
Not sure.
Thank
Well,
you.
they won't turn you away whatever time you show up.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Nielsen?
It's Holy Week, and throughout our community, there's a lot of different churches that are holding celebrations of Easter, and I know at the LDS Church, they're having a concert Sunday evening at 7 p.m., but wherever you choose to worship, there's something special happening this week, and I just want everyone in Holbrook to be aware of that.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Marsh? Nothing? Councilman Kester?
Yes, happy Easter to everybody. I'd like to see Holbrook put on an Easter egg hunt. I don't know if there's any going on or not this year.
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
Saturday at Hunt Park, right?
I know the Little League, they're doing one, and then there was somebody else that was doing another one.
Good. Good, let people know that there are Easter egg hunts for the kids, that's a great idea.
Thank you, Councilman Kister. Councilman Wolford.
Yeah, just reiterate this cleanup we got coming up on Saturday, so I'll be out there. I hope to see a whole bunch of Holbrook people out there. Next Saturday, yes, after, yeah, 2 Saturdays from now, okay. Yeah, so I hope to see everybody out there. Gloves, trash bags, yeah.
Thank you, Councilman. Manager Soltis.
Alrighty, some good news. Folks have been wanting the transfer station to be open on Fridays, and they're now gonna be open on Fridays. We had a staff change, and now the transfer station is gonna be open from Tuesday through Friday. That'll give them 2 days off, Sunday and Monday. So that'll make a lot of folks happy. I don't know, it's been a long time since it's been open on Fridays. Matter of fact, I don't know if it's ever been. But anyway, good news on that. I attended the Economic Development Council meeting, as I am a member. We had various topics discussed on economic development, and all the communities kind of gave an update on what's going on in the communities. It was really interesting, and it's a good opportunity to make contacts and find out what's going on around the state and have some ideas for our community. We installed new picnic tables in Hunt Park underneath the pavilion, and we relocated some to the animal shelter. I know the animal shelter for some time has wanted picnic tables, so we located some up there. And we also, we had a few extras that we provided over to the county, for the county fairgrounds. We are in the process of building the new bleachers. New bleachers have come in, so we'll soon be putting in new bleachers at Hunt Park and at Barrow Field. And then Lizitsky Park concession stand is nearly complete. Mike's doing a great job. It's a whole lot better than it used to be. I think it's gonna be more useful, and it looks a lot nicer. And finally, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the cemetery situation. I spent about 30 minutes with Elizabeth at the cemetery, and I assured her that we'll do a better job of and be more careful at that site. I also talked to staff and discussed with them that they need to be a little bit more careful on how they drive around the cemetery. We have a new staff member that's responsible for the cemetery, so he'll be able to spend a lot more time at that cemetery. I also explained that, you know, if they have a burial and they haven't got tire marks or something like that, make sure they notify our other staff members so they can clean it up and fix it up. What had happened was, after I had that conversation with staff and got the insurance from them that to be a little bit more careful, we had a funeral, and the funeral home drove down and drove over one of the sites there. So I'll have a conversation with them and let them know they need to be more careful. So after this, the plan is to get on over to the cemetery and actually physically see what's going on as far as equipment is concerned. I hear 2 different things. One is the equipment can be more careful and there's plenty of room. And another one is, no, the equipment, we don't have enough room, and so that we're gonna end up running over grave sites. So I'm gonna find out. I'm actually gonna have a different staff member who has worked in the cemetery for 10 years get on the tractor and the backhoe and demonstrate whether or not it's possible to make that radius. As I had explained to Elizabeth, we had plans for the next expansion was to move that fence, move the fence out of there actually, ultimately, and on the other side of the fence, we're gonna have plans for a road. Now, if it comes out to be true that we are not able to make that radius, it is gonna create a problem. I don't have any issue with moving that fence. It's not very hard to move it. It's not gonna cost us a whole lot of money. And all that means is that that new road that we have planned for the next expansion will get done a little bit sooner. So that's those plans there. And I apologize if I screened, and I'm sorry that wasn't a very good conversation. I apologize for
You left
that.
out some of the information.
And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9, submissions of written petition for non-agenda items.
There are none.
We have none. Item 10 is adjournment. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Yes. First time.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned, 18:28.